Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Don't know if I'm live here yet, but we'll have Dr. Garko on in a few minutes here with us. But for the meantime,
I should be there. Can
yeah,
you
I
hear me?
just want to bring you on when I introduce you.
Okay, good enough.
Um,
We're good.
I don't know what's happening. Our picture will be on here, but it won't be playing. And okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Wayne Elliott here. We'll be bringing on Dr. Garko in a few minutes with me, and welcome back to Health and Wellness. Pleased to be with you, and happy 4th of July to our American friends. Happy July 1st, Canada Day to our Canadian friends. Just before I bring Dr. Garko on, a little bit of an update. As you know, if you've heard any of the previous shows, I had COVID for the third time and myocarditis set in afterward or during, I don't know which, and the symptoms of myocarditis I found anyway were high blood pressure and irregular heartbeat. I'd had both of those earlier in my life, 30 plus years ago, and so I just repeated the same thing that I did then back all those years ago with the Strauss kidney. Turned out my kidneys were the issue with my blood pressure many years ago. So the kidney formula and the cardio support formula, which was made for arrhythmia and to help the body repair damaged heart cells. So both are coming along pretty good, and both those symptoms. My irregular heartbeat is almost regular again. It's been 2 months now on these formulas. And my blood pressure most of the time is good. Not quite as good as it was for 2 decades, 120/70, but um, 125/80, 130/80. I've had a couple of 115s over 70, and so that was very good. But it hasn't steadied right up yet. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and never been big on the prescription drugs, and so I'm going to keep just taking the natural stuff, the Strauss products, and I finally got rid of the virus in my lungs that they told me that I had last August. I don't know how long I've been carrying it around, but just in this past month or so, I got rid of that, taking large doses of oregano, Agrumax, and vitamin C. Anyway, let's get our good friend Dr. Garko on with us today. There he is. Good morning, Doc. How you doing?
Good morning, and from the United States, happy Independence Day, 4th of July.
That's right. That's right.
I
How's
know
this
in
week?
Canada you didn't have to get a divorce from the Queen or the King, so
No, no. It was Canada Day on Saturday, so everything was closed here. Our July 1st is Canada's birthday,
wow.
156th birthday. We're not as old as the United
Wow.
States. And we've only had our, when did we get our own flag? It was like 1967 or something. Yeah, it was. As a
Wow.
kid in
My
school, when
goodness.
we stopped using the English Union Jack, and they had a contest to see uh, what kind of flag Canada was going to have, and they came out with the red and white maple leaf flag. So uh, we were finally had our own flag, and didn't use England's Union Jack any longer.
It's
So
interesting. So you
yeah,
did, in a way, you did get a divorce from the King or of England or the Queen, who's ever in power. So we share that history, but it's
Sort of, yeah.
Independence Day here. It used to be called Independence. I guess they still call it that. It's 4th of July. So we're here celebrating it. I'm glad to be with you today. I've been appearing on a lot of different shows lately, radio and TV. And one of the questions I get quite frequently, Wayne, is about cholesterol. And it's truly intriguing to me how the layperson, the everyday person, someone who's not in the medical field or some related field like nutrition or whatever it might be, are interested in it because there's been so much published about it. That's not to say that there hasn't been any confusion surrounding this whole issue of cholesterol. In fact, it's even to some extent it became politicized, which created even more of a problem. So the question that I get often, there's several, but the one question that people keep asking me is, first they say, what can I do about it? And then the next question is it really as bad as is being said? And so that creates an interesting kind of conversation. So I've been dealing with that a lot lately. For some reason, it goes in spurts. Lately, I've been getting questions about cholesterol. So I thought we could, if it's okay with you, because it's related to clearly cardiovascular health. I mean, there's just no question about that. The question is how or in what ways is it related? From my perspective now, there is really an overwhelming amount of evidence that dietary cholesterol increases cardiovascular disease. That said, we'll talk about this, I guess, today too. Cholesterol is necessary. It's not as if cholesterol is bad. It's a case of too much cholesterol. All right. It's not that we should eliminate cholesterol. Our body makes cholesterol. And so I just wanted to just sort of highlight that a bit. And I also, as a sidebar, make the audience aware that the egg industry, I'm a researcher by trade, so I understand the science and done my share of studies. But the egg industry has created sort of a misdirection regarding cholesterol because cholesterol is in eggs, right? And so they've created a misdirection. And what they do often is they focus on the fasting levels of LDL cholesterol. In other words, which is only raised about 10%. So, but that's a misdirection. What do I mean by that? The main effect of diet is on what we call in the nutrition business the postprandial state. That means postprandial means after you eat. That's after a meal state. For about 4 hours after a high fat, high cholesterol meal, there is oxidative stress, artery dysfunction, and arterial inflammation, which happens after eating more than 140 milligrams of cholesterol, which is less, mind you, than a single egg. Right. So that's the misdirection. You can't look at cholesterol in a fasting state. You have to, and that's when people go get a blood test, they usually have fasted. When you have to look at it is right after you eat. And what the science tells us is right after you eat, you have those effects that I just described.
Right.
Okay. So cholesterol is a main risk factor for atherosclerosis, the LDL cholesterol, because the LDL cholesterol gets oxidized. And when it's oxidized, it damages the inner lining of the arteries. And then you start to build plaque and this disease process that we now call atherosclerosis. Now, I know that this topic, there's a back and forth all over the place about it.
Yeah.
But as a nutritionist with a practice, if I have somebody that comes to me with heart disease, and I do have clients that have heart disease, it would be criminal for me. It would be unconscionable to say to them, don't worry about cholesterol. There's no problem. What I tell them, it's too much cholesterol. And so that's what I do with my clients. I try to figure out how much they're consuming, and then we moderate that. So I just thought I'd introduce that. This, and it's connected to it's also connected to abdominal obesity. So I won't get into that connection, but there's a connection between the high cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, the abdominal obesity, and all the inflammation that it's pumping out, which all contributes to heart disease.
Right. Well, what I've found most interesting about cholesterol, Doc, and what I believe in is that it's mostly a myth, the cholesterol myth, that blood cholesterol means something. I believe it means nothing. And it certainly cannot hurt you while it's floating around in your blood. It only hurts you when it gets stuck somewhere and restricts blood flow. That's the major damage from cholesterol. So the cholesterol myth in the natural health business is this, that that their example, when I wasn't well 35 years ago, after my what's now been determined a heart attack at about age 35, my blood cholesterol level was perfect, they said. We have a different scoring scheme here in Canada, but mine was 3.0, was perfect, they said. They would never have suggested drugs to me, statin drugs or blood thinners. And yet, I had a heart attack. I had clogged arteries. So, what Strauss always said was, and the people being treated. So, if you have high blood cholesterol in our country, you will be put on statin drugs to try and lower that cholesterol. However, the statin drugs purport to work by shuttering your liver's function, governing it down to produce less cholesterol. So it governs it down for the other 200 functions as well, which makes it, in our opinion, the most insidious drug on the market is the statin drugs. Also, the largest selling drugs are the statin drugs. But so this myth that we consider it a myth that high blood cholesterol is a danger, when truthfully it may mean that your body is doing exactly what it should do, given that the blood system is the only transportation system. So that excess cholesterol, that high cholesterol may be floating in your blood, could be moving to disposal. When I started on the Strauss heart drops, for example, and not feeling well, angina, arrhythmia by that time, my blood cholesterol was still 3.0, perfect here in Canada. As I took the Strauss heart drops and it dissolved that plaque, my blood cholesterol level tripled, stayed there for a year, went just shy of 9. And my doctor was worried. I said, Doc, I feel like Superman. You don't look so good, but I feel great. And he was very worried and couldn't get his head around that high blood cholesterol wouldn't be harmful, even though the blood system is the only transportation system. So as you dissolve cholesterol, and or if you have too much of it and your body's working properly, it'll be in your blood. It's the only highway. So, my belief, Doc, is that they have a lot of the wrong people on medication. And of course, people I've found generally believe that that medication does something that it does not claim to do and does not do. Example, if you had blockage now, restrictions, that statin drug will do no more in terms of removing so much as 1 grain than a jackhammer will, or a bottle of maple syrup, or anything else. It does not claim to do that, and does not remove any. It simply apparently slows your production of it. That's what the statin drugs do, is slow the production of it. So it's a real sensitive topic for me when people talk about cholesterol.
Well, that's
I
why I
say,
brought it up.
who gives a damn about your blood cholesterol level? It means nothing. And that's what I believe.
Okay.
You know, you when you think about it, I had angina, had all the angina symptoms, and my doctor trusted the blood cholesterol test that I was just fine. He was clearly wrong. That test is clearly wrong, in my opinion.
Okay.
So,
Well, you're right. You're right about the test. What you said so far, what you said doesn't necessarily go against what I am,
right.
my point of view. Let me
That's
say
right.
this. Let me say this. Let me make an argument for cholesterol. Cholesterol is something that it's a substance that is found in all the cells of the body.
Yes.
Most cholesterol is made in the liver. Most cholesterol is there's no doubt in my mind. It's vital to health. It serves as the starting material for producing sex and adrenal hormones, vitamin D, bile for digestion. It has even has this hormonal precursor to cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone. And it serves a
Right.
number of different functions.
Yeah.
It's a case of too much of a good thing or not enough of a good thing. You can have too much cholesterol and you can have not enough cholesterol. Having too much cholesterol in the system is in the science, in the literature, is well established as a risk factor for heart disease, heart attacks caused by atherosclerosis. Having too little cholesterol in the system, notice this, nobody ever talks about this. It accelerates aging and contributes to aging-related diseases generally, and to the aging of skin specifically when you don't have enough. Now, to your argument and in your defense, back in 2009, that long ago, there was a study, a national study, that showed nearly 75% of patients that were hospitalized for a heart attack had cholesterol levels that would indicate they were not at high risk for a cardiovascular event. That was you, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Based on the current, at the time, the current cholesterol guidelines. This is where the caveat is. Specifically, these patients in that study had low LDL cholesterol levels that met the guidelines, and close to half of them in that study had LDL levels classified as guidelines as, get this, optimal. They were less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Almost 75% of heart attack patients fall within the recommended targets for LDL cholesterol. Well, wait a second, Dr. Garko, you just said that cholesterol is a risk factor. Here's where the twist and turn is. They fall within the recommended targets for LDL cholesterol because the guidelines may not be low enough to cut the heart attack risk. We're measuring cholesterol by a faulty set of guidelines. That's the problem.
Right.
Look, I had a neighbor. I can't mention his name. He passed away. Wayne, as I sit here, this is the absolute truth. He had, I believe, 3 brothers and himself. All 3 brothers died of heart attacks attributable to atherosclerosis. One day, the neighbors didn't see, he lived 2 doors down from me. They didn't see him in the neighborhood. And a couple of neighbors got into the house. They found him in his chair. He had a heart attack and died. And he died of a heart attack of atherosclerosis. They had in his family, they had a genetic mutation. It was inherited. The liver made too much cholesterol, and all the brothers, all four of them, died of the same thing. So that's an anecdotal story, but my point is that I agree with you. There's a myth, there's a certain amount of mythology around cholesterol, both good and bad. And so it's not that cholesterol is bad, you need it. Like you said, it's when it gets off the chain, and the guidelines are wrong, in my opinion. The guidelines need to be, we have them too high. We're making it too easy to have what we call a normal cholesterol.
Yeah.
So what you bring up is interesting. You're not alone in your point of view. Many of my colleagues adopt the point of view that you have.
Right.
My point of view is cholesterol is a good thing. We need to have cholesterol. If you don't have enough cholesterol, it contributes to aging and creates other health problems. It's the case of too much cholesterol, and the guidelines are wrong.
Yeah.
So
you know what they did in Canada here, Doc, on the blood tests. And I was curious as to why, except to say that was the pH, the body pH,
yeah,
the level of acidity or alkalinity.
yes,
And I think maybe what was wrong was the range that they gave as okay or as normal was from alkaline to acidic. The range was, it spanned the midpoint. So you were left to think, okay, what is better? Is it better to be acidic or better to be alkaline?
it's
I've
better.
always believed.
It's better to be balanced.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Um, things like cancer have trouble growing in an alkaline environment. So to be too acidic, which is easy to be, Doc, if we drink coffee and black tea and eat sweets and, red meats, and there's all kinds of acid ash foods out there, but uh, amongst the worst, pork, shellfish are high in acid as well. So some of the things that are considered the tastiest are but I found it interesting in Canada, they stopped reporting the pH level. And I kind of assumed it's because it didn't mean anything, or they didn't know what the heck they were doing, one or the other.
Well, that often, I'm not shocked. That often happens. Look, let me see if I can introduce something else into this conversation. Where I'm headed with this. This is my opinion now. I believe everybody, notice what I just said, everybody needs to be on a product like the Strauss Heart Drops. And the reason why I say that is because humans are prone. We are prone to heart disease and heart attacks. Humans are prone to heart disease and heart attacks because we have this unique and unfortunate propensity to develop atherosclerosis. There is no question about that, coronary artery disease. We have known this for a long time. The research shows that all of us, me included, are all at risk for atherosclerosis. Make no mistake, atherosclerosis is a stealth-like, lethal cardiovascular related killer. And heart disease in the form of coronary artery disease caused by atherosclerosis is a serial killer. It's a primary cause of coronary artery disease. It turns out that it's not only the excess cholesterol that's heavily implicated in the pathogenesis of atherosclerosis. There's some truth to that. There's another reason too. and it's related to atherosclerosis. Millions of years ago, there was a gene mutation in humans. And we know this now because the scientists have looked at this. And this gene mutation, the gene is known as CMAH. It produces a celiac acid sugar molecule. And I won't even give you the name, it's too hard to pronounce. As a result of this gene mutation, humans on the whole are deficient in this celiac sugar molecule. And that is at the root of why we develop atherosclerosis. And also that gene, when we lost that gene, it made us more prone to develop heart disease from eating red meat. And there's a reason for that. This is the science of paleogenetics that tells us this. And this has been present, this gene mutation has been present in our species for 5,000 years. You put a person on a high red meat diet. I mean, they're eating red meat every day. I will bet my house, my car, my bank account, my reputation, my good name on it, they will most likely eventually develop heart disease. Unless they are a biological exception, that could happen, but most likely not. And we know this, Wayne, when we look at different cultures. If you look at the culture in Mongolia, that's a meat-eating pastoral society. Their rate of heart disease and chronic diseases is off the chain. I mean, it's horrible. You look at other countries where it's more plant-based. They still eat meat, but it's more plant-based. They have less heart disease, less cancer, and so on. So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that you flirt with danger when you consume too much cholesterol and don't manage it and keep it at a level where it should be. I think that the lab markers are wrong. They're way too high. That we're saying, oh, this is normal. You know, if you're less than 100 milligrams per deciliter, you're in good shape. No, you're not. You're not. So that's my point.
Doc, I've always thought that the milkshakes and the milk was my biggest nemesis. But guess what else I ate in
Twinkies?
Incredible Twinkies, yes. By the truckload. I had a roommate played baseball.
I know you better, Wayne.
One of my roommates was also played baseball at University of Miami. He lived on milk and Twinkies, and I'm not exaggerating.
God almighty.
That's all he had in the fridge. But what I ate a tremendous amount of, in addition to dairy, was beef. Doc, I'm telling you. I may have the record for milk and beef for someone whose mother wasn't a cow or a wolf, because my dad would buy roasts and always get, he'd get 7 or 8 pounds the family would eat, and I'd have 5 pounds of beef. One time I won a contest with some football players at Miami, where we went to Royal Castle to see who could eat the most of those nasty little burgers with I used to call them fake onions. They're not really fake onions. They're just frozen little bits. So the next, I was neck and neck with this other guy at 26 little cheeseburgers.
Oh, geez.
And then just to prove the point, I ate 3 more to show that, there was still capacity left.
Yeah,
right? So,
to put a point on it. Yeah,
right. Is it a big surprise I had heart disease in my 30s when was drinking milk and milkshakes and eating beef like that? My goodness.
So you're a piece of anecdotal evidence as to what I just said.
That's right.
We are, and that's why I say, now there's people probably watching or listening today. They say, well, hell, I don't need to worry about this because I don't eat red meat and I don't do this. You know what? Doesn't make any difference. As if you live long enough, your arteries are going to plaque to some extent. It's it's a weak spot. Here's another factoid. The heart and the vascular system of human beings is phenomenal. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
However, the heart and the vascular system doesn't lend itself well to self-repair. When the arteries get damaged and scored and plaquing starts to happen and that plaque gets calcified, that's there's no way to change that. When you have a heart attack and the certain parts of the heart muscle are deprived of oxygen, that muscle becomes that part of that muscle tissue becomes necrotic. So it doesn't self-repair. And so I guess what I'm saying, I'm making a case for the heart drops. People should be taking it whether they have high blood pressure or they don't, high cholesterol or they don't, heart disease or they don't. It's the best cardiovascular insurance policy you can have on this planet. And I say that with the backed by the evidence. And so if you want to age successfully, then you need to take care of this cardiovascular system, because without oxygen and nutrients to the cells, you're a goner. Yeah. You're done. It's over. And, you've been through a bad spell here. You've had a bad patch. And I saw you struggling. And you're determined, just as determined as you were to eat those 26 Royal Castle burgers. You're just as determined to do the things that you need to do to make things right. Yeah. And I saw you turn the bend on this and relying on these botanicals, these herbal formulations by Strauss. So you're a good example, both, and I say this out of
good and a bad.
Yeah. I love you. I say this out of love for you. You're both a good example and a bad example.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. There's no doubt about that, Doc. But and you're right about the body having difficulty on its own repairing or coming back from some things. You're absolutely right. Boy, I'll never forget those days as a young man, still young that.
You were only in your 30s, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Wayne, I don't know how in God's good earth you got this far. I mean, you were in trouble a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you made it because of you took some corrective action by the supplements from Strauss, those botanicals.
What's amazing, Doc, is the length of time between that attack, the sledgehammer in the chest, down I went in my front lawn, the number of years that went by until I was introduced to Strauss. Honestly, that's why I think I really was meant to talk about this, because the 6 or 7 years there, my goodness, that I was at my heaviest, doing all kinds of things wrong and eating all kinds of things wrong.
Wow.
Did very little good for myself then. As hard as I worked, it wasn't physical work much. Amazing that I made it through. And
I don't know how you. Look, Wayne. I do this for a living. I've been doing this for decades, and I see people that were in far better, quote unquote, better health, and then got into trouble and didn't make it.
Yeah.
You started off with such a negative balance here. I mean, and you somehow made it and figured out, and then you had a period of time where you weren't even taking the Strauss heart drops or anything else. No. And you made it through that. And then you met Jim Strauss, which was a fateful moment.
Yeah.
And so then you started with the heart drops. You're a testament to, and I say this with utmost reverence and respect for you. You're a testament to, no matter how bad it is, there's always a way, and you have to have faith and belief that there's a way to try to recover from the issue, the health issue. And you did that, and you stuck with the regimen all these years. So your story is not just about, what you went through. It's also about, it's never too late. And no matter, even if the house is burnt down to the ground, you can rebuild it and repair it, at least to the extent that it's livable.
Yeah, no, that's right, Doc. That's right. And I think the other reason that I was maybe fortunate, Doc, was that And I did get heavy there. I'm 200 pounds or 198 today. I did get as high as 260 around that time I had the attack. Um, but gee, I'll tell you, I ate the same as some of my friends that got to 400 pounds.
Oh,
Just with no restraint whatsoever. You want the sixth chocolate bar, you want the 10th glass of chocolate milk, you want all those cheeseburgers. We worked out in our younger days. We worked out basically 7 days a week and got away with eating pretty much whatever we wanted. But I was lucky that I honestly that I didn't gain weight as fast or as much as some of my friends did,
yeah.
behaving the same way. Maybe my metabolism. I'll never know, Doc, what the reason was. But
Well, you're always on the go, Wayne.
yeah,
You're a businessman, and you got a lot of response. You go for days. You're here and hither and yon, doing this and that all the time. You've been doing this for decades.
yeah,
But lest we mislead the audience, cholesterol is only one issue that contributes to atherosclerosis and why I believe everybody needs to be on a heart drops. There are other risk factors. We really got to underscore that. Being sedentary, your age is a risk factor. Hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity is a huge, no pun intended, huge risk factor. Smoking is a risk factor. Stress is a risk
yeah,
factor. And not getting enough sleep and rest is a risk factor for atherosclerosis. Some people are committing nearly all of those violations at the same time.
yeah,
And if they expect to live a long life, well, good luck with that. Uh,
yeah,
and who wants to live a long life without quality of life? You may live to be 80, 85, but if you're sitting in a nursing home, not even knowing that you're in the nursing home, I don't want to live like that,
that's
you
right.
know.
Yeah,
So that's why I believe the heart drops, given the way we live, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in the United States, basically in our culture here, it's a cardiogenic diet. It's a diet that really that contributes to heart disease. A highly processed food
yes,
loaded with salt, sugar, and fat. I'm sure it's not that much different in Canada. So
no, it's the
and
same.
and and we got 75% of the population in the US, Wayne, that's overweight or obese, man.
Yeah,
75%.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
As you
again,
pointed out a few minutes ago, that's not a small point by any means. That's a very big point. Uh, of the 25% of the national champion football team that I was on. I'm in my 70th year, as you know. The 25% that are dead, uh, all but two were grossly overweight and died in their 50s. You know.
yeah, because abdominal obesity, that visceral fat is not the same as subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat, you can pinch it. Visceral fat is hard as a rock. If you
Yeah.
see a guy with a big pot belly and you punch him in the stomach or poke at it, it's like hitting a brick wall. It's fat that's engorged around the organs, the viscera, your
Yeah.
pancreas, your kidneys, your all of those organs are engorged in that fat. It's a endocrine factory that's pumping out pro-inflammatory compounds all day long, cortisol being one of them.
Right.
And we know that visceral fat, abdominal obesity is a huge, big risk factor for
Yeah.
coronary artery disease and caused by atherosclerosis.
Yeah. It makes sense too, Doc. Our heart is all supposed to be about the same size, apparently, about the size of your fist. So having to lug around, an extra 100 pounds, 200 pounds, is really something. Not to mention the other organs and the joints. Those knees aren't necessarily meant to carry, you know, 400 pounds. And so it's almost like a chain reaction. Everything does connect. And we should expect our share of problems getting that size. And
If you,
the hardening of the arteries, they used to call it.
they still call it that.
Do they? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple of grandparents go that way, and that's very sad because your heart can keep pumping, but boy, oh boy, you know, my in our case, my grandparents didn't know who they were, who we were. This went on for years,
Oh, that I mean, that's so hard to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, terrible,
For
terrible.
just for the audience's reference, when I come on air with you, or I'm doing radio and TV every day, 6, 7 days a week, uh, I'm very careful with what I say. I don't, when I say it's my opinion, I say it's my opinion.
Yeah.
But then I say, this is what the facts show. So for the audience, if you want to check my work, look up what they call the Iceman. It's the Trollean Iceman, Tyolen, Trollean Iceman, a 5,300-year-old glacier mummy that they found in the Alps. And he had an increased when they did an autopsy, they found him intact. He was frozen in a block of ice. When they scanned his body. I don't know how they did it, but they found out that he had coronary heart disease. He had and the Iceman's genome revealed that this single nucleotide polymorph, this SNP, that is linked with cardiovascular disease in a genome-wide study. In other words, we know that's one of the pieces of evidence to support the assertion that I made that we are prone to atherosclerosis, hence heart attacks, heart disease, and heart attacks. Scientists don't know why that mutation occurred, but it did. So they call him Ötzi the Iceman. It was in that part of the country. And that was on September 19th, 1991, when they found this naturally mummified body. You can look it up. It's in what's called the Ötztal Alps, Otzal. That's where they found him. And he's not the only one. They look at the remains of the kings, the pharaohs in the pyramids that they find, and they find the same thing. They had heart disease. Many of them had heart disease as well. So we have a propensity for it. That's why you should practice some prevention here. Does Strauss still have the 10% discount offer?
Yes, absolutely. Anybody, the coupon code, if you go on the website, Dr. Garko, it's Strauss, Strauss Naturals, StraussNaturals.com. The coupon code is the word truth, like the Truth Be Told radio network. So truth, TRUTH, for 10% savings. You'll automatically get that with the coupon code truth. And find more information, see what's in the various products, all the various herbs you can.
Yeah, and they have a link there, and the good people at Strauss put a link there. It says Ask Dr. Garko. If you click on that link, you will be afforded the opportunity to ask me questions, make comments, and then if you scroll down, you can read my articles, the education pieces that I've composed for Strauss on cardiovascular disease and several other chronic diseases here. And you don't charge for that. That's offered to you. I spent many hours writing each of those to try to serve as a way to educate the consumer. You said something that about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, you said, that's why you were alluding to the fact that because you had such a big event in your life, that heart attack, that caused you and put you on a path and a journey to want to help others. And so that's why you do this kind of work. Right. You don't need to do this. You got more things to do, and you got sense. I know you're busy, but yet you find a time to go do this. And this is why I do it too. I come on with you, and I love doing it because if I feel we can help one person, then we had a good day. So that's why I'm here, and I know that's why you're here. And I'm very proud, by the way. I want you to know, to be affiliated with Strauss in this way. I have a lot of respect for this company. They're the real deal. No flash and bang, no, false, outrageous claims and nonsense. Very straight up, honest good people. They guarantee. Oh, they guarantee the products, don't they?
Guarantee your satisfaction. Yes, I love that about the Strauss family. They always did, Doc. If you're dissatisfied for any reason, the Strauss family, they won't have that. So you may be disappointed, but you will get a full refund and not be out any of your money. You can't be cheated. You can't be harmed. The product's shown as safe for 43 years now, commercially available. But I love that they have the satisfaction guarantee, and I mean, listen, as far as I'm concerned, Doc, they saved my life and then changed my life. And
100%.
Jim Strauss told me that the greatest reward on earth is helping another person, even someone that you don't know and will never meet. And that's turned out to be true, right? We don't meet these people that might call into a radio show or speak with on the radio show, but when you find out that they call in that they've done well and took the product and feeling
Yep.
better, I mean, there's nothing like it, really. That's the what's in it for me, and I think it's the what's in it for you as well.
100%. Last night I was at the gym and I finished my workout. And I was in the locker room grabbing my bag, and I saw this fellow in there, and he's really in great shape. I made him to be in his 40s, and I said hi to him. And next thing you know, I have a conversation with him, and he had a very serious health issue. And I took a moment. I could have walked out the door, and I took a moment, about 5 or 10 minutes, and I talked to him about it. And I shared with him my point of view about what I thought he could do. And if he was interested, he could contact me and I could make him a client. But if not, that's okay. But I wanted to help him there. And at the end of it, he said, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it. Nobody does that. And I said, I understand. So, he was a perfect stranger.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there. I had a good workout, but you know what? I felt better, even better, because I thought that maybe I helped him a little bit more than he would have had otherwise if I hadn't talked to him. So, yeah, it's great. It's really a privilege to do this kind of work, isn't it, Wayne?
It is, and I found that most of us, through my work and training with self-discovery and so forth, everybody just wants a little bit of attention, and sometimes that's all you have to do to help someone is to lend them your ear for a few minutes and put your attention on them. So yeah, it's very rewarding, really, and um, very rewarding in that sense. And if you feel obliged, you worked very hard at your education for decades and decades.
Still doing it. I'm still doing it.
I know you are. Um, with me, the school of hard knocks, as usual, as my father used to call it, was my best teacher. Um, but yeah, it's wonderful, and it's wonderful. The other thing I love about these products, Doc, is that it's painless. It's not intrusive. They're painless. I love that travel bug. I just referred another lady to it who is pregnant and expecting a baby in November for the nausea and the morning sickness, and that product is safe for expecting moms and children. Not particularly usual in our line of natural products. They don't recommend that, but this is, and great tasting, so kids love it. It won't knock them out in the back seat if that's what your goal is, the kids for the drive. But I mean, I always thought that was kind of an unfortunate side effect. But some people might like that to calm the kids down. But the travel bug by Strauss won't knock the kids out or the expecting mom. They'll just help you with that nausea. Health Canada has said that it is also good for upper respiratory, which I found interesting. Um, and again, approved for expecting moms and young children. And so is geez, I got to think for a minute now. The Cold Storm
Cold
that
Storm,
Strauss
yes.
makes, also 100% natural product. I haven't. I did take that for a bit, Doc, through the start of this COVID. I did. I took it for maybe 2 weeks, but people say that take the cold storm that either they were getting a lot of colds usually and they have now experienced less colds. The
Hmm.
other thing that they say quite a number of people do is that when they do get a cold, it leaves them much quicker, which is a nice thing if you're suffering a head cold or something like that. So, Cold Storm is another product, but it is good for young children and expecting moms. So,
Right.
the pregnant ladies out there aren't without any remedies. These are excellent natural products that are recommended for them.
Sure. I wanted to let the audience know too, with respect to these heart drops, the Strauss heart drops. It's constituted of a number of different botanicals, herbs. The centerpiece one is the aged garlic extract. I can tell you there are hundreds, if not thousands, of studies now on AGE, aged garlic extract. And let me just tick this off for the audience so they know. AGE has been shown in the literature. I mean, just study after study. It can slow and reduce coronary artery calcification progression. It can reduce and regress low attenuation plaque. That's the non calcified fatty plaque. It can attenuate moderate and severe arterial inflammation. It can reduce arterial related oxidative stress. It can prevent platelet aggregation, the clotting, that's
Yes.
to blood clots. It can reduce coronary artery disease and heart attacks related risk factors such as pro inflammatory cytokines. That's just on that one compound on AGE. Check my work. Go on to pubmed.gov and type in aged garlic extract. You'll have enough there to read for the rest of the day and the rest of the week. It's one study after another on aged garlic extract. That happens to be in the Strauss heart drops. I can't make the claim that the heart drops are going to do all those things that I just said. I can tell you that AGE can do that, and the heart drops support the structure and function of the cardiovascular system. You know, we don't make health. I don't make health claims because I can't, but I can say I can talk about those individual compounds, and I can tell you what the literature says. And those compounds are in the product. So
Yeah.
make of that what you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those heart drops, the things I've seen, Doc, with both parents. My dad's open heart surgery, bypass surgery, was canceled in Boston by the doctors after he had been taking the heart drops for 3 months, and when they tested him pre-surgery,
Right, and he hadn't done anything else, right? You didn't take him to
no,
Lourdes in France, did you, or anything
no,
like that?
no,
No.
no. And then the same thing happened with the prostate, doc. I didn't know my dad was having an issue. I didn't know he was taking pills for a couple of years, and I guess they weren't working as hoped. And my dad was going for a prostatectomy in Boston, and I said to him, Dad, you look with the heart drops, your experience with the heart drops. And he took the prostate formula for I think 3 months, went back, and they canceled that surgery. And my dad died about 14 or 15 years later with a healthy prostate. I just love these things, Doc. Not to have that surgery and lose parts of yourself. I mean, my goodness.
So we have to use our common sense here. Nature, its agenda is to keep all the different species alive,
Yeah,
and it provided the nutrients by way of the plants to do that primarily.
yeah,
Without the plants, there is no planet either, by the way. All these compounds are found in plants. These are botanicals. Botanicals, herbs come from plants. They don't come from animals.
yeah,
So nature has given us these gifts, these natural gifts to keep us alive. And it's nature's agenda. Nature's agenda is to have us propagate early and often, raise the offspring, and then nature's agenda is to end it for us. So we're able to live a longer life now because of medical science and other reasons. But nature doesn't want us to be living this long. It would rather shorter because too much can't sustain the planet that way. But nevertheless, these are gifts from nature. It's no accident that these exist. So to your point, and I know you say it all the time, you believe in natural wellness, and these are the instruments of nature to keep us well naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I no longer eat 5 pounds of beef at a sitting, Doc.
You better not.
I used to be a shoe-in at those places where, they had the 5 pound tough sirloin steak that would be the size of the round table. And my friends would go, "Come on, Wayne, you can do it." They'd bring you a potato the size of a football first and a loaf of bread with supposed to be your bun. I'd eat all that. One time, Doc, on a holiday, I was young playing football. And the steak was so tough, this 5 pound steak, and the deal was if you ate it, it was free. If you didn't eat it, it was $26.95 back then. I'm talking about a lot of years ago. And I got a cramp in my jaw with about a quarter pound left. And I said, this steak is too tough. If the steak wasn't so tough, I could eat that. So
they probably smacked that thing on a wall and on the floor to make it hard and tough.
My goodness. And tons of salt on it. So I drank about 10 glasses of milk with it. And I said to him, "Look, just to prove to you I'm not full,
Oh my God.
give me 2 orders of rice pudding and some bread pudding with vanilla sauce, and I'll eat that to show you." And they still charged me the $26.95 they did. But that wasn't the first time I took the contest, and I usually won, Doc. At least I won the contest.
Unfortunately, you are the best example of committing nutritional sin back in those days.
You name it, Doc. Smoking, not sleeping, stress. I had it all.
Oh my God.
I was, a marvel of modern science.
Well,
anyway,
that's a testament. That's a testament to how well these Strauss heart drops and all the other things that you took work. If they can work for Wayne, they will certainly work for you.
That's right. Brought me right out of the abyss. They did. Well, Doc, we're at that time again. I thank you for being with me again.
Of course.
Always great to be with you.
Yes.
Thank you, folks, for listening in. This will air as usual on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Truth Be Told Radio Network. And until next week, from Dr. Garko and I, stay well, God bless, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, Doc.
See ya.